So, Uncle Francis and Auntie Joe have literally been throwing sand on See, you see this? You see this? You see this? You see this evil? You see this abomination? You see this?
This lady's story just made me cry. So, a young woman on TikTok by the name of Ifunanya shared her testimony on how she, led by the Spirit of God, traveled from America to Nigeria to rescue her father from the hands of her evil uncles and auntie. Ifunanya is an American citizen. She's also a Nigerian American from Anambra State, Enugu community in Anambra State. So is her father. And somewhere in 2017, according to her father, after spending over 25 years in America, came back to Nigeria to retire. And wow, he was in Nigeria, he kept communicating with the family back in the US, kept communicating with his first daughter, Ifunanya, and they were talking on a regular basis. But somewhere down the line, towards the end of 2021, the communication between Ifunanya and her father reduced drastically. And for nearly 6 months in a row, Ifunanya was unable to speak to her father. And so she decided to come down to Nigeria for just a 1-week vacation, and from there she would go to Enugu to see her father in her father's house. However, nothing could prepare her for what she saw when she went to visit her father in the village. Now, on a TikTok page, this story has many parts, but we'll brush through the stories and go through the details, because personally, I have one question. For those who already know the story, my question is, what were the uncles and auntie planning on doing with Mr. Peter? What were they trying to do to Ifunanya's dad? If this young lady had not come to rescue her father, what were their plans exactly? Because let me tell you, this story has opened a lot of people's eyes to the possibility of their uncles and relatives being the devil in their family. Because what in the hell? This is a story that if I'd heard somewhere, I would have doubted that it was true. But this young lady has made it believable that a lot of these Nigerian movies we've been watching all these years are true for the most part. Now, let's get into it. Now, put in mind that Ifunanya telling the story is a very spiritual young lady. She's a Christian, she's a believer. And so a lot of the intuition that she gets to take certain actions, she claims comes from the Holy Spirit. So let's put that in mind. Now, according to the story, Mr. Peter, Ifunanya's father, worked in America for 25 years, and then eventually when he retired, he decided to come back to his hometown, Enugu in Anambra State, to enjoy his pension. He has a big house there, he has a property there. The money that the American government is sending him for pension is about $5,000 a month. So this man is set for life. He just wants to enjoy his money in his hometown with his kinsmen and just live the rest of his life there. But little did he know that the devil had other plans. So when he left in 2017, he came to Nigeria. Ifunanya even was at the airport, saw the man off to the airport. He landed in Nigeria. Everything seemed good. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, this man was constantly keeping in touch with his family abroad. And Ifunanya, being the first daughter, was very close to the dad, Mr. Peter. So they were talking on a regular basis. He would call during the holidays, they would call for her birthday. So he was in constant communication with his family until towards the end of 2021. That was when Ifunanya started noticing that there was a little bit of distance between her father and herself. At some point, she didn't think too much of it because she too was busy. So she assumed her father also was equally busy. Life goes on. But then, for a whole 6 months, she was unable to get through her father. Anytime she calls, the father would not pick. If she calls the aunties or the uncle, they will say, oh, your dad just stepped out. Don't worry, we'll give him the phone when he comes back. And that never happens. Oh, your dad is sleeping. Your dad has gone to Abuja. Your dad is not here. Your dad is not dead. So they were always making these excuses for her to not be able to speak to her dad. And that was how 6 months passed. And Ifunanya said that she hadn't spoken to her father, and that bothered her. During the holiday period, towards the end of 2021 into 2022, she comes to Nigeria for a 1-week vacation. during the new year. And she thought she was going to have a chill time because at this point, she still hasn't thought of anything. At this point, it hasn't occurred to her that the situation might be as bad as it's about to get to. So she just went to Lagos. She was chilling in Lagos, enjoying her holidays. I think she has a boyfriend who was in Lagos. So they were just having a good time in Lagos. So when the 1 week vacation, because she took 1 week off from work. So towards the end of the 1 week, she was like, okay, let me just go to the village and finally see my dad. Let me just use this last 3 days and spend it in Enugu to see my dad. So she left her boyfriend in Lagos and came to Anambra State to meet the dad. When she got to her father's house, which by the way, is important because she knows the way to her father's house. Many Nigerians abroad don't even tell their children where their houses are in Nigeria. And it's important because a lot of people commended that it's good that she knew her way by herself to her father's compound in the village, and it was impressive. So she comes to her father's house, and the first thing she sees at the gate is a heap of sand. Like they've covered the gates, and she's like confused as to why is there a whole heap of sand in my father's gate. She goes over the sand, knocks, and she sees her uncle and her auntie. I think Uncle Francis and Auntie Joy, I can't remember. And that was when things escalated. Thinking that she will be opened and welcomed by auntie and uncle, she was met with instant rebuke. They rebuked her. They sent her back. They assaulted her. They called her a prostitute. They called her a whore. They said that she's sleeping in hotels. They told her to get out of the house. They told her that they don't want to see her here again. If not, that they will kill her. And Ifunanya is confused because what is... Okay, let her just see her dad. So they made it seem like Ifunanya's father is not happy with the family. So the father does not want to see the kids. So they basically beat up Ifunanya, poured her sand. Those heap of sand that was in front of the gates, they basically finished it on Ifunanya. But Ifunanya did not relent, basically. She kept pushing. She kept fighting. She even started shouting her father's name. She even started calling her own name so the father would hear. And this young lady persevered to the point that people in the community, in the neighborhood, started coming out to see what was going on. And Ifunanya started speaking to the neighbors and everybody coming out, telling them that she is the daughter of Mr. Peter who lives in this house and she has not seen her father for 6 months. So she starts to explain to the people coming out that her auntie and uncle are refusing her to go into her father's house to see her father. And she is not understanding why. They are beating her, they are pouring sand on her. And soon afterwards, crowd gathered. The community people became interested at this chaos. And instantly, the tides turned. And the community people started shouting at the auntie and uncle. They even started beating them up for saying that it's a taboo that the man's first daughter would come to her father's house and you guys will treat her like this. And that was when things escalated. That was when they had to now call the youth leader and call the Onowu, the community king in that village, that this case is a serious one. And this is where things started blowing up out of proportion. This is where at this point, I'm sure the auntie and the uncle regretted what they did, because from here onwards, it was chaos. So eventually, when they took the case to the Onowu and called the youth leader, they basically involved the police. So the police were immediately involved. The young lady, they met her and they were talking to Ifunanya, telling her that, okay, you've been assaulted. Obviously, you've been physically beaten. Do you want to press charges? And Ifunanya is like, nah, I just came to see my dad. Like, forget the charges yet. I came here to actually see my dad, but they will not let me. And this was the moment the police knew that, okay, she only came to check on her dad. So she can actually go in to check on her dad. She has the right to go into her father's house to check on the dad. So when she comes back to the neighborhood where the father's compound was, the villagers already started asking her more questions. People were still talking. They were asking, the commotion was still not clear to some of the people there. They were asking her, why did your uncle and auntie do this? And basically, the uncle and auntie could not exactly give a direct explanation as to why they did what they did to her. So at this point, she's outside the compound and she's supposed to go in to the building to see her dad. But the uncle and auntie did not let her in. In fact, they started telling the girl that, okay, since you want to see your father so badly, go to Abuja. Your dad is in Abuja. They even get a call from another relative of theirs who stay in Abuja. Like the man, Mr. Peter's brother who stays in Abuja, started sending a text message to everybody, to her, and telling her that, oh, sorry, your dad here is in Abuja with me. He's not in Anambra State, but he's not around now. When he comes back, I'll put him on the phone. The man even called on speakerphone to announce to everybody, the villagers, the police, even herself, anybody, to the youth leader per se, telling them that Mr. Peter is in Abuja. So another relative of Mr. Peter is calling on the phone, on loudspeaker, to the entire village that the man that they are looking for in that house is not there, is in Abuja, that she should start coming to Abuja. But while the man was making the call and talking on the phone, Ifunanya was listening to the call, and everybody was listening. And by the time the call dropped, Ifunanya looked over and saw an elderly woman amongst the crowd who gave her the eye and told her that your father is not in Abuja. He is inside that house. So basically the ploy for this relative was to confuse this lady that the father is not in that house. But she got the confirmation she needed from a lady amongst the crowd. It was even getting late by this time. Another thing again is she also at this point made it clear in her story that somewhere in 2019 and 2020, somewhere in 2020, her father developed stroke in Nigeria, and she wanted the father to come back to the US to get treatment. But the dad said, no, he's taking treatment in Anambra State. So it's important to know that the father did have stroke, and the father had a medical condition that she was aware of. But she kept communicating with dad, and the dad kept saying that he was responding to treatment. So the whole knowledge of his stroke was there, and I guess that was why she really wanted to see the father so badly, because she was aware of his pre-existing condition of the stroke. So upon hearing that the father is in Abuja, that did not make sense to her. And when she got the confirmation from the elderly woman, she was certain that her intuition and the Holy Spirit was right, that the father was in this house. But unfortunately, it was only Ifunanya that got the words. The woman just basically whispered it to her, and it's one woman from the whole crowd. The rest members of the community have been convinced that Peter is not in the house, and the caller even told them that tomorrow morning that he's going to call again and tell everybody to speak to Peter, that he's in Abuja. So everybody started going home. They were like, okay, Ifunanya, what's up now? You've heard now. Sure, you've heard it from your uncle. Yeah, go house, go home. And everybody was about to leave, and Ifunanya was like, no, you also chill. You all say that I can enter my father's compound, right? So why are we waiting till tomorrow to speak to him? If he's in Abuja, fine. Let him be in Abuja. But let's make sure that he's not here first. Now that we are here, let's go in. Isn't that the point? Isn't that the whole thing? She's her father's daughter, right? So let her go inside. Let's all go inside and see let's just go in. Since the father is in Abuja, so that means they're not hiding anything. Yeah, make we enter now. Let's go and see. And that was the notion that Ifunanya wanted to execute. So eventually, Ifunanya was able to get into the house, and she was able to make it up the stairs to the father's room. She pretty much knows where she would most likely see the dad. And when she got there, that was when she finally discovered her father in the most depleted state you could imagine. The dad was lying. He was malnourished. He was skinny. He was dried up. His lips were peeled and stiff. She could not believe her eyes. And the father was lying on a dirty mattress on the floor, covered in leaves, as though that they were trying to do some kind of juju on him, or a native medicine sort of. And that was what Ifunanya saw. And according to her, she quickly went to speak to her dad. She knows the dad could not talk, so she kept asking the dad, do you recognize me? Do you know me? Do you know I love you? Do you know do you love me? And the father kept saying yes and yes. And so at this moment, Ifunanya was certain that yes, her dad was in this house. And when the villagers heard, because at this time, only her, a police officer, and the youth leader went there to see the dad upstairs. So when they came down and told everybody else that the father, Mr. Peter, is in this house, all the villagers were like, hey, Many of them were shocked. They even had to meet her and told her that this your uncle and your auntie are wicked people. And that was when a lot of the villagers started remembering, because this man is notable. Mr. Peter is very notable. I mean, an American man came back to the village. Everybody knew this man. He was kind, he was generous, he spoke to people. When he was healthy, people had good relationship with him. So after a while, some of these people would go and ask after him, and the uncle and auntie would tell them that, oh, Mr. Peter has traveled back to the US. Oh, he's in Abuja. No, he's not around. So these villagers who thought all this while that Mr. Peter was most likely in Abuja or abroad, that's why they believed it when the Uncle Christopher called from Abuja to say that Mr. Peter is with him there in Abuja. So many of them believed, because they've been told that since, only to discover that this man was in the house this whole time in a very critical situation, in a very critical condition. And that was when they were like, yeah, this man's brother and his sister, the uncle and auntie, were wicked, evil people. So they were lying this whole time. They were lying to the entire village. They were lying to the police. They were trying to deceive this girl. Like, what was the reason? What was the reason? And this was the moment Ifunanya knew that, yeah, there's a battle to be fought, because our next go-to is to get her father out of there and take the father back to the United States to get a proper treatment. But it wasn't easy, because that wicked uncle and wicked auntie did not give it up without a fight. Oh, they put up a very, very dangerous fight. And Ifunanya, lucky for her, had the Holy Spirit in her, and she was equal to the task. So after she discovers her father there, basically she comes down, tells everyone that the dad is dead. The police confirms, the Enugu youth leader confirms too. And so by the end of that day, basically she goes back to her hotel room in Oka, and she prays and prays. She talks more about the Holy Spirit. Eventually, the next morning, she's called to the police station due to the attack and everything that had transpired. She's called to give her statement. She goes there. She sees her auntie also writing her own statement. After they finish filling down the statement, she's trying to see the auntie try to apologize in a way, trying to warm up to her, and she's like, nah, you had so much energy yesterday, so baby girl, keep that energy going. Eventually the IPO, the police, the head of the police there, sees the auntie statement and sees holes in her statement and detains her, tries to lock her up. And the auntie continues to plead, continues to beg, continues to say things like, this is a family issue. Even some relatives came and they were like, oh, telling the police that this is a family issue, and they will settle it like family. And basically that was what. And remember, these police, they are also members of this traditional community too. So they permitted it. They allowed the auntie to go. And they took the case to the Onowu of their Enugu village community. And it was there that they started learning about Mr. Peter. The Onowu was like, okay, this is sad. And the auntie started lying that they've been taking the dad to the hospital. They've been giving him medical care. They have done a lot of these, that he gets treatment. And they asked the auntie to go and get medical records, father's hospital card. Like, she should go back home and bring proof that Mr. Peter has been taken to the hospital this last year. Like, let her go and bring evidence. And the auntie was like, yeah, she's going to go and collect the evidence that she has been taking good care of her brother. Because I don't know at this point who Mr. Peter is to her. But since she's the auntie, I'm sure she's a sister to the Mr. Peter. And so auntie just basically left and did not come back. So basically she did not come back. She did not come back with the report. She did not come back with the evidence, the thing that they sent her to bring. She did not come back with it. She just left and ran away from there. The woman did not come back with the medical card. No proof, no evidence. That's why I felt like she should have stayed in prison. And I guess, according to Ifunanya, she felt that at this point they're trying to frustrate her because they know that she's an American citizen. She would have to still go back eventually. Maybe they were playing these mind games as to, let's frustrate her a bit, let's just frustrate her a bit. Eventually she would still have to go back. And Ifunanya, in understanding that there's a big fight ahead of her, quickly called her company back in the US and begged for more time. She even explained to them, sent them videos to what she was going through. Thank God for the video evidence. And when her boss saw that this is what this lady is going through, they gave her extra 30 days. And paid 30 days, by the way. So she's still getting paid in these 30 days and she's not working. And this was just to her God's plan all the way, all the way. And it's a beautiful thing. So now she had enough time. Now she told herself she does not have to rush because she's going to deal and fight this till the very end. So the first thing she did after basically getting enough time was to go to the hospital, because she remembered that when the dad first had stroke, the dad told her where he was receiving treatment. So she remembered it. She had to go back to their chat, to their conversation, and did some digging. And eventually she traced the hospital and went to meet the hospital to inquire if her father has been coming here for treatment. And the doctor revealed to her that they've not seen the dad in over a year, in nearly a year per se, that the dad was coming and then stopped coming. So which means that basically the auntie and uncle stopped this man from receiving treatment from the medical doctor. And nobody understood why, because again, this man was receiving $5,000 every month. So he had enough money for treatment whatsoever, at least. So why wasn't he taking treatment? Why wasn't he at the hospital? Why wasn't he being cared for? So eventually, when from the hospital, basically she had to go back to the community because the police at this point had allowed them to, they told the police that they want to deal with it as a family matter, as within the family. And she goes to the umunans, the community people, because now the community people are interested because this uncle and auntie have been lying to them that this man had traveled. After they had the meeting with her, they decided to go back to her family's compound, but it was already getting late. So when they got to the compound, the auntie let everybody in. So she's already playing cool, playing smart. Fortunately for them, it was now getting late. So when the Umunams were there discussing with the auntie, they requested to see Peter. And the auntie was like, Peter is sleeping. Peter is tired. Peter does not want to see anybody. So the gate that leads to the father's room upstairs was locked. And she asked for them to come back tomorrow. So she basically refused to let the community people see Peter. And Ifunanya was a bit frustrated about this whole situation. So they go back to, I think they went back to the Onowu and tells the Onowu that this lady did not still let the Umunams see Peter. And the Onowu was like, they don't get why this woman is doing this. However, some of the community people understood that it's already late. Some of them were like, okay, fine, it's 9th already. So we'll come back tomorrow to see Mr. Peter. And the auntie was like, sure, come back tomorrow. Don't worry, by tomorrow he's ready to see you. But some people were suspicious because something was not adding up. And it came to her that she had to hire some youths to stay guard at her father's compound till the next day. So she bought beer, gave money to get some youth to take turns to do night shift and basically watch over the father's compound to make sure that nothing happens to the father, to make sure that they don't take the father out of the house, so that the next morning they can come back to see the father. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, the youths got the money, they bought their beer, they mounted, they got paid, they were doing their job, and in the middle of the night, a van pulls over with armed men with guns, comes down from this van and tells the youth to get her from there. They cocked their gun and they were ready to shoot, and that was how all the youths ran away. They could not believe their eyes. And Ifunanya, around 4, got the phone call from the youths who were there, and they tell her that, see, these men came, they look like military men, they look like men with guns, they look like unknown gunmen, and they were like, we should leave or they will shoot, and they left. And they also noticed that the boss went to the back of the house, and that was when they saw that the uncle and auntie carried Ifunanya's father into that van, and they drove off. And that was how it was clear that Ifunanya's father, Mr. Peter, had been kidnapped. At this point of this story, I'm like, what? What is wrong with this uncle and auntie? What is their aim exactly? Why are they pushing it exactly? Like, what are they doing? According to Ifunanya, for 3 days, she had no idea where her father was. She had no single idea where her father was. She had no idea where they took the father to. And the police could not even ascertain where they took Mr. Peters to. Where were they taking this man to? Why did they kidnap this man? Because this is clearly kidnapping. Armed men with a van in the middle of the night. For a man, you know that people are coming to see the next morning. That is clearly abduction. That is you kidnapping him. However, 3 days later, she gets a call that the father is back in the house and that she can come and see the father now. But she does not go because she felt that they've put juju and charms. She felt like they've done something that will make the father reject her. That when the father sees her, the father will be like, you're not my daughter, get away from there. So the Holy Spirit tells her to stay back and not go. And she does that. And eventually, after a while, after a day or two, she got the mind to finally go to see the dad. And when she went there, she saw the auntie with the lawyer, but the auntie was still arrested, and they took her to the police station because now this is about kidnapping. And the story spirals on. Eventually, they force the auntie to come back to the house to get the uncle and the Mr. Peter to the daughter, and they all go to the house. The youths are invested. The auntie gets to the gate and claims that she has lost the key. And they were like, say no more. You don't lose key. No problem. They got armor. They broke the gate, got to the house. They opened the gates from the gate in the house that leads to the father's room upstairs. And throughout that video, you could see the auntie and uncle frustrating the efforts of the youths, of Ifunanya, of the police. They were clearly making it difficult. They were clearly stalling. They were clearly doing everything in their power to make sure that they don't get Mr. Peter. But eventually, they were able to get Mr. Peter. Ifunanya got upstairs, got to her dad, saw the dad, had the youth to help carry the dad. They brought the dad downstairs, put the dad in a vehicle, took him to the hospital, and it was just like a whole adventure. Eventually, they got Mr. Peter back to the hospital. He started taking treatments. They were in the hospital for 9 days. The community people in Anambra stood by her. They were at the clinic watching. They were guiding, bringing food, coming to visit the whole 9 days. Eventually, she tries to get the man's passport. This was a whole drama on her own. The auntie started apologizing to her at some point, started begging her, started being nice to her. She's like, girl, get out from this. Give me my father's passport. I want to take him out of here. And the police followed her back to the house to get the father's passport. She saw the Nigerian passport, but she could not see the American passport. And when they asked the auntie, where is my father's American passport? This auntie that has been begging Ifunanya then accuses Ifunanya of stealing the father's passport. I'm like, this woman, you keep going back and forth. This is how you cannot even trust these people with their apologies. And Ifunanya was like, how did I steal my own father's passport? What, like, make it make sense, ma. You're drawing at straws right now because you've been caught in a big lie. You're now a disgrace, basically. So, long story short, Ifunanya was able to get her dad. They were able to book the flight, got to Lagos, and from Lagos, I think they were able to, since the dad is an American citizen, I think, so I don't know how they were, I lost how, maybe they got another passport, or maybe the father got a special phone call from the United States, because let me tell you something. One impressive thing about this story was the fact that when Ifunanya saw that these things was getting out of hand, she actually had to call America. She had to call the United States, that one of your citizens, because let's face it, in as much as this man is Nigerian, he is also a citizen of the United States. And the United States made sure that they were on the case. They spoke to people that they needed to speak with. They used their power and they did not let this man down. And this is so impressive. So I would not be surprised that the man does not even need an American passport to come back to his country, because basically he's American. And that was it. Ifunanya was able to get her father out of the country back to the United States. And that was when she revealed that one of the uncle who is in the United States was angry that they brought the father out of Anambra. The one in Abuja was also pissed and angry, was threatening that he has lawyers, that he has legal rights over his brother, yada this, yada that, and I don't know. So that is it. That is how Ifunanya was able to rescue her father from the evil hands of her uncles and relatives. And then, before she even left, she got to learn that they were using the father's money and pension to build another house in the compound. And she was confused, because why they did not take care of the father? The father was malnourished. The father could not walk. The father was dirty, smelling when they found him. He hadn't had his bath. He hadn't been cleaned. The father was a mess, was like a pauper. And yet they were mounting a new structure in that compound. These uncles and aunties were taking this man's money for themselves. Wow. Somebody receiving $5,000 a month could not even bathe, clean himself, had not eaten. You guys could not even hire somebody and pay the person $10 to take care of this man. And they were mounting throughout this whole chaos, because that heap of sound at the gate was for the building project that they were building. This goes to show you how wicked some relatives can be. I'm sure in my mind they knew that this man stroke and they just gave up on him, and they were like, why wasting money for the hospital? You know, let's use it and do other things. You already know that with this your disease, you're gonna die. I think that was the case. But the love that this man's daughter had for the father, and this is why it's important for fathers to love your kids. No matter how you want to do it, you're going to grow old one day. No matter, I feel like save enough money for your retirement, you will grow old. And old age comes with sicknesses. Old age comes with certain disadvantages. And such is the case of Mr. Peter, who thought he was going to enjoy his money, and somewhere along the line developed stroke. And only his one true love, that is his daughter, cared enough to fly, to come down here to fight, to get him back and get him out of this situation. The brothers and his siblings and his other people were basically sucking him dry, keeping him alive enough to keep getting his pension, but not taking good care of him. Wow. Wow. You guys, this story blew my mind. It made me almost cry. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Just let me know what you think about the story. You can also check out Ifunaya's page to hear the story from her mouth herself. It's something you should want to do, because in as much as I'm telling the story, nobody can tell it better than her. She lived it. It's her experience. And I cannot imagine all the things that she probably did not even say in this video. It's terrifying. Man, Lord have mercy. But I'm just so happy that the community people were in support. I'm so happy that the youths and the Ono, I'm like, they were in the right side of history. Like, kudos to her for pushing through, because there were so many moments in this story that she could have given up. Even when they took the man 3 days away, was to plan and take part in frustrating Ifunanya so that she can go. They wanted to frustrate the whole case so that they would forget, but the girl pushed on through. You need to, like, for that kind of love is hard to find these days. Nobody will fight this hard for you. Nobody. And it's important to, when you have children, take good care of your kids, love them no matter what, because only them can go through this hell for you. Wow.